Hi, my name is Paul Makrievski. I am a gas inspector with Energy Safe Victoria, and I will be discussing flexibility in piping systems. In many instances, flexibility of consumer piping is overlooked on horizontal sections. For example, pipework located in basement car parks and on rooftop plant decks. This presentation will help you understand where flexibility for consumer piping is required and how it can be provided. Why do we need to provide flexibility? Copper piping expands and contracts with temperature changes. Therefore, in a copper piping system, the pipeline can buckle or bend when it expands unless compensation is built into the system. Harmful stresses, buckling and bending are prevented by providing expansion joints, loops or offsets, and pipe slide guides. Consumer piping shall be designed to have sufficient flexibility to prevent excessive stress in the piping material and attached equipment caused by thermal expansion and contraction, excessive bending or loading at joints, and undesirable forces or movements at points of connection to equipment or at anchorage or guide points. What does this mean to you as a licensed gas fitter? It means that formal calculations may be required where reasonable doubt exists regarding adequate flexibility of the system. Based on these calculations, the requirements of this clause may be satisfied by use of one or more of the following: bends, loops or offsets formed in the piping, flexible joints or couplings of the type designed to absorb thermal expansion and contraction, or expansion joints. So when is expansion required for piping systems? Based on calculations of the rate of linear expansion for copper when subjected to temperature change, we know that internally located consumer piping having a continuous length greater than 35 meters will require allowance for flexibility and expansion to be provided. Copper piping systems located externally are subjected to greater temperature changes, and therefore provision is required for expansion where a continuous length exceeds 17 meters. There are various methods whereby expansion can be provided to a copper consumer piping system. Some common methods include flexible hose assemblies and expansion offsets or loops installed within the pipework. Where provision for expansion is installed, such as offsets and loops on copper piping systems, pipe slide guides may be required. An expansion loop on its own will not necessarily allow adequate pipe movement if every support point on the piping system is rigid. Pipe slide guides allow for the piping system to move with thermal expansion. Expansion provisions for horizontal consumer piping, such as can be found in car parks and across rooftops, can be designed a number of different ways. A couple of commonly used methods are shown on this slide. Option A on this slide depicts flexibility for pipework in straight lengths exceeding 35 meters internally or 17 meters externally. To provide for the expansion of long horizontal runs of pipework, the pipe will need to be supported by slide guides between fixed points, enabling expansion and contraction of the pipework. Allowance for this expansion is to be provided between the fixed points using either a loop, as depicted, offsets, or other suitable means. The size of loops and offsets will need to be designed to allow for the calculated movement. In option B, the pipe layout is designed with an offset to allow for expansion, and runs are limited to less than 35 meters internally or 17 meters externally. In this instance, The main run can be clipped as normal with consideration to the location of clips on the offset, allowing for any expansion to take place.